Okay. All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am Kat Udero, psychic empath, psychic wrangler. And before we see who I've wrangled into today's show, let me welcome you to Third Eye Salon, where in each and every show, we take a fresh and deep look between the veils of reality. And today we are going to take a deep dive with the incredible champion of love and light, Sherry Wilde. But before we say hello to Sherry, let's say hello to my bestie, Linda Coulter-Burge, psychic and conscious business coach. Linda, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm walking in gratitude for being here today with Sherry, with you, with Jason, with Angela, with everybody that's joining us on this show. I just feel so much gratitude today. And so I wanted to just put that out there for everyone. I am Linda Coulter-Burge, and those who don't know, I am your live chat host for our live stream. And as always, my policy is to play nice or get out, because we want love here and support. And if you're not willing to do that and you can have disagreements and conversations, that's wonderful. Just do it with respect, okay? Be sure as we start this podcast to hit the like button and share this with your friends, because that's how we get more seen in this world and can help more people. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button with the black button so you get notified all the time, then you're missing out on some really amazing shows. So do it, okay?
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Also, if you can't see us on YouTube, check us out on Spotify and Apple. And for those of you who support our show with coffee, thank you so much. It really does make a difference. So again, special shout out to all of you who have bought coffee. And if you have not joined our Facebook group, please check us out at Third Eye Salon, 3RD Salon, in our Facebook group. Okay. And with that, Sherry, I have watched you, and every time I watch you, I end up having more and more questions. Every time I read what you have written, I have more and more questions. So I'm looking forward to spending time with you today, because I know it's very precious.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And we also want to say hello to Angela Anderson. She's an artist, builder of custom motorcycles, former software engineer, shaman, amazing individual in oneness. How are you, Angela?
I'm doing so well today. I hope all of you guys are doing well. I'm so excited to have Sherry present today. I listened to one of her chats from a Dolores Cannon conference, and I was just so taken with her words. Everything so resonated with where I am in my understanding of things now and my remembrance of things. So I'm excited to endeavor in the chat today. Excited to see what comes.
Excellent. Thank you. And then, of course, we've got Jason Atkins. He is not just a psychic medium. He channels and channels through drawing, through his art, your fractal star family. And lo and behold, there's someone hanging out to his right or his left, depending on which way you're looking. Who's this, Jason, and how are you today?
I'm doing well. I knew there was I had nothing going on today. I was like, I'm going to join. And then I got my confirmation for joining earlier. I have her name written down. Look, I have my selenite one because the energy around her is just like bombarding me. I have her name written down somewhere. I know it starts with an A, but she's supposed to represent. She doesn't actually look like this. Like, she's not half human, half gray or whatever, but it's supposed to represent like this hybrid form. So that's the way that she chose to kind of show herself. And you can't really see it, but in the background, it's binary code that I translated, and it says something like future humans, genetics bad, no harm. So because she's like a representation of humans in the future, but something's gone wrong to where they can't, I don't know how to explain. They can't reproduce naturally. Like, they need so that, like, they come back to get our genetic to help them in the future. I know it's so.
Yeah, that's old school story. We know that stuff.
Yeah. So I have her name written down somewhere, but it starts with an A. I do remember that. But yeah, that's her. So
Is her name Aurora?
it's something like that. I know there's like an AUR sound
Yeah,
in it.
Aurora.
Yeah, because I have it like I wrote down like 5 or 6 different names that all kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't pinpoint which one it was, but that feels really like it resonates with me.
You just today painted.
Well, no, I've been working on her for like 2 or 3 weeks. I have an art show on Thursday.
Okay.
So I was trying to work on another piece to kind of add to it. Right? And so she was like, draw me like one of your French girls, right? Yeah, so I've worked on her. She was like a 2-week process because I had to step away. Like I would start it one day, then I would have to step away for a week, and then I finally finished her maybe like 3 or 4 days ago, about a week ago, because I've already started the Anubis picture. So yeah, I've had her for about a week and like finished.
That's awesome.
Because whenever the guys would come to get me to go on the scout ship to do the exams and harvest my ova, there's a woman there, and her name was Aurora. She was a hybrid, half part human, part Zeta, part ET. I think a Zeta ET, but her hair was a little bit lighter, very thin, and she always looked, because her hair was so thin and kind of looked like she was going bald almost.
Yeah.
She it made her look kind of sickly, but her name was Aurora. She was
nice.
very sweet, and
she will forever now be deemed Aurora.
Yeah,
I love that. And I got the chill bump, so it resonates with me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
God, the show's already so magical. Before the show, Jason was giving Sherry a reading. Now Sherry's giving Jason a reading. All right, well, I'm going to hop into Miss Sherry's bio because I'm just chomping to get in. So Sherry has lived her entire life in the enchanting hills of southwestern Wisconsin, opting to raise her 2 daughters in the same small village that she grew up in. She operated a successful real estate business for over 35 years, expanding into land development and commercial renovations. During the Harmonic Convergence in 1987, Sherry was activated to her life mission. Over the course of the next few years, sorry, my screen just jumped. Over the course of the next few years, Sherry's buried memories of extraterrestrial contact began to surface. Her life eventually unraveled as her family, who are unable to give her support or understanding, turned their backs on Sherry. Sherry's book, The Forgotten Promise, tells the story of her involvement with her cosmic family. Soon after the book came out, Sherry was viciously attacked with poison, EMFs, and mind control. A mini-series of her life is currently in the works. So please give us a thumbs up if you are honored and excited to have our time with Sherry today, and if you're excited to hear about her mission as an ET soul helping Gaia through this time of awakening and ascension. And from that point, I kind of want to just get that chapter open and out of the way, about what you experienced with the poisoning and how you're doing today, Sherry, because I know that you're still recovering. You're much better than you were, like 6 months ago. But how are you doing, love?
I'm gaining ground little by little every day, and it's a process, because to get better, you have to sometimes get sick. By that I mean Jim and I are both actually doing an ivermectin protocol. So we're on ivermectin, and so that causes a lot of cleansing to take place. So we are hertzing, if you know what hertzing means. So it's been a process, and it's been the story of my life since they attacked me. The way they got to me was to use the EMFs to lower my frequency, because I knew that they were coming after me. I finally realized that I was being attacked. I was taking poison in the form, they messed with my mail and they interfered with my mail. And the pills that I got through the mail that were supposed to be helping me with my legs were 99% poison when I had them tested, when we finally figured out, when I landed in the hospital with lead poisoning. They wanted to know where it came from. Well, had no idea. We looked at the water first, we looked all around, and it was, so the mail had been tampered with. that they got that poison to me, because you don't get pills and have them be pretty much pure poison unless it's, somebody trying to kill you. And so that happened. They used EMFs. And when I asked them what it was, because here's the crazy thing about dealing with entities like these, is that they tell you what they're doing to you. And I mean, they just tell you right out. So I could ask them things like, what is that's going on at night? Because when I would turn off my bedside lamp, I would hear this low frequency sound coming into the room. My dog would come out of the closet and be shaking his head, and he could hear it too. And we both were affected by it. And I asked them what it was, and they said it was ELF, ELF, ELF radiation. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, look it up. And so I looked it up, and as always, it always shocks me when it turns out it really is something. It stood for extremely low frequency, which if you look at that, it is very harmful to humans. It's harmful to all living things. And so they were hitting me with low frequency radiation, which lowered my immune system, lowered my frequency. Because when I had turned to Da, when I had Draco here, and I had entities here that were clearly coming after me, and I was getting sicker and sicker. I hadn't discovered that it was the poison, it was the pills I was taking, and I was getting sicker, so I knew that they were behind it. I lost my train of thought totally. They were lowering my frequency, hitting me with the poison. Where was I going with that? And using mind control, and ended up in the hospital near death with it, and had to detox my body. Here's the thing about it. Western medicine doesn't know how to deal with this stuff. And if you say anything to your doctor, I mean, as it is, they were very strange when they found out that I had the poison. And I don't know if they thought I was trying to kill myself or what they thought, but the medical field has treated me very shabbily. They've just been, not only do they not know what to do for someone who's been poisoned, but I couldn't even tell them that I had been hit with EMFs, because I don't think that they would have even responded to that. When I went to my doctor to tell her that my body was, because my body, I was always tuned into my body. I went to my doctor to say, I believe I'm being poisoned. I want you to help me find out, what it is, what's going on, because I'm getting sicker and sicker, and it feels like poison. My body is telling me it's poison. She looked at me like I'd grown a horn out of my forehead, and kind of backed away from me. And I said, can you do that? And she just kind of ridiculed me and got me out of the office as fast as she could. I went home, and I got mad. I was continuing to get sicker. I went back 2 or 3 weeks later, and I said, look, I was here before, and you almost chased me out of the office. I'm telling you, I'm getting sick from poison. I need help to discern what kind of poison this might be. And she just laughed a nervous laugh and said, you're not being poisoned, and so anyway, it's been like that. The whole thing has been just a nightmare. So detoxing has been what I've done. I had to detox through chelation for 3 years. I did chemical chelation for on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis, 2 or 3 times a week. It was very expensive and very hard on my body. By the time I got done with that, my immune system was so wrecked that I got diagnosed with Lyme disease and Parkinson's and anything else they could throw. They guessed a lot. They'd like to give you labels. I didn't accept any of the labels. I just knew I needed to treat my body, which had been so abused and so beaten down. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's been horrible. And I have wanted to leave. I won't lie. I know my mission was to stay here, and I couldn't leave until the as the guys call it, the movie gets made. Mm. But I did want to leave, and because it got really bad. But I have been cleaning my body, and this ivermectin is the latest way to clean it that I'm on, and Jim is on it too, and it's helping both of us, but it's hard to do. But little by little, I'm gaining ground, and but still waiting for the med beds to come out.
The good med beds, not the ones they're rolling out now that are actually, what I've heard, like the ones that are rolling out now are actually not the ones we're waiting for.
No, they're not at all. They're not at all. I've been on the ship. I've been on the ship where I've gone, it isn't a med bed. What it is a healing chamber, we call it. And you step into the healing chamber and there's frequencies in there. You just stand for not very long and they hit you with light frequencies. And it just balances your body. Anything that's out of balance is put back into balance very quickly. And I've been, so I've been in that situation. That's what the med beds are. I understand, only you lay on them. So I know that they work and it's fantastic. So I'm hanging on and waiting for those to come. But I'm much better than I was. I mean, I did lose my ability to walk, and now I was fearful I was losing my sight, and I've lost, probably 50% of my sight, but I can, I can see, but I can't do anything. I want to write another book, but I can't do that. And it's hard because my brain they put an implant into my head. They would put it in and then my guys would come and they would take it out and they'd come back and put it back in again. It was like, I was some kind of a yo-yo or something. So, and I asked them, I demanded that they stop messing with me, and I wanted to know what that was, the implant that they put into my head that they were doing every night. And they called it what do they call it? Oh, let's see now. Trojan horse. I'm sorry. Yeah, a Trojan horse implant. And so what it was, when I said, well, what is that? What is it for? And they said to look it up. And I looked it up, and honestly, it said it's a form of a computer virus that takes over your computer without the owner's or the operator's consent. So it was basically taking over my thoughts in my body, taking me over without my consent.
Now, let me hop in and ask real quick, was that the Draconians that did that, or how did that get into your head?
Yeah, there's a lot to the story. I mean,
I know.
It comes out of me, and I don't always put it in the right direction because
It's okay.
But there's so much. I don't believe that the Dracos that were coming around here, and I get a lot of flack for this, but I don't believe that they were bad. I don't get that they were bad. Who I get were the bad ones were the military working with these little grays. I had military here. I was told one night on a phone call that they were coming to kill me and that I should leave because I get assigned people to protect me, and they're very psychic and they're healers and stuff. And my guy at that time called and said they're on their way and they intend to kill you. And he said, grab your purse and leave right away and take your dog and get out of the house. And I didn't leave. I stayed here and I faced them. And I remember them all being little, but they were military, guys in military. So the Draco that were here seemed to be positive. Jim, everybody says, well, how come he survived okay? And he was there. He wasn't with me during all the attacks, but he was during some of them. And I lost everybody in I lost all my family, friends were all cut from my life. And that was not just by their choice. I don't believe there was interference. There was mind control or something. There's Luciferian, and something happened there that my children turned on me, and that my family, that everybody, all my friends, everybody just left me. I was totally isolated. Jim was the only one left. And I get asked, why didn't it affect him? What I got was that he's a Draco. His lineage is a Draco. And because of that, a good Draco. And because of that, they wouldn't touch him. There's some kind of an honor thing. But also, his family came in to help support me. And they were administering to us, and they were actually doing Reiki as best they could at night. When we would get into bed, Jim would say, Sherry, somebody's touching my head. And I said, yeah, that's your guys. I said, they're doing Reiki on us, and they're starting to do this protocol. And he'd be like, that's kind of creepy. And I said, yeah, but they were doing what they could, and they were administering amino acid injections to us. Somebody was, I think it was them. There is good Draco out there, and I just believe that's what they were. They scared the crap out of me just because of the way they look. But and when I asked Da, he said not to worry, that I would be okay. Just what he said was stand in the frequency of who you are. They can't touch you. You long ago surpassed that frequency, Sherry. Don't worry about it. They won't be able to touch you because of your frequency. Well, they lowered my frequency. They were able to lower it through the EMF attacks. And that's how they got the door open. because I wasn't afraid of them. I had the shield around me. I was protected, but they got around it. And, they used directed energy weapons. They hit me. I had a dear friend who was killed with a directed energy weapon, and I had some other people who were supporting me who were killed with directed energy weapons. They hit me with it a couple times. The worst time was when we were driving up the interstate through Oklahoma, and I heard I got the message. I had done an interview. Every time I would do an interview, I would get attacked. Now that's not happening for the last 6 months or so.
Okay.
As far as I know, it doesn't seem like it anyway. But we were driving up the interstate, and I had done a couple of interviews a week or two previous to this, and they hit me with a directed energy weapon, and that one was going to kill me. That one, it came in through my arm and wrapped around through my heart, and it was squeezing my heart, and I was going down for the count. And then I heard my guys say, "We've got you," and it immediately released. But I mean, the attacks. I mean, I could talk but I don't like
Right.
to focus. But
well, I'll take it there and flip it, because I wanted to also balance that with, because as somebody who's been a Sherry Wilde advocate for the last few years, I was like, why aren't you guys helping her? Why does she have to go through this? And then I heard you say in an interview, I actually agreed to heal the victim mentality on the planet. And I said, okay, I'll work through this. So let's flip it and talk about that side of it.
I don't say that very often anymore. It's interesting you happen to catch that interview, because I don't go there very much with it. I'll be interested to hear what your co-hosts have with their intuitive hits they get on this. Through regression and just through piecing together parts of my own memory and other people that were there when I signed the agreement to take on the karma for a lot of the Earth consciousness, Earth humans. What I found out through hypnosis was I was picked up. I consciously recalled the ship coming up the valley and picking me up on November 7th of 2011. I think it was the 7th. They came up the valley, a beautiful rendezvous ship, picked us up, the guy that I was involved with, and I got picked up. And I went on the ship. I remember consciously being greeted by the guys at the, at the bottom, and then beamed up by the light like they do. I remember being pissed because they put me through a decontamination chamber, which I had never had to do before. And I took that as a personal assault, like, what, I'm not clean enough to come out? And they said, well, actually not, your planet has gotten so contaminated and we need you to, and there's a lot of people here from all over. So yeah, so I went through that, because I remember all this consciously, went in, and there was in the huge room, there were tons of ETs and people, humans and ETs there. And there was a friend of mine, an experiencer from Australia, who I saw on the ship. She was there as well, and she remembers seeing me. She was standing in with the crowd of people. I sat at the table. For some reason, I got to sit at the table, at the conference table. We're there, and they had this meeting. They brought us up to date about what was going on with the planet, and they said that it was being delayed, that they were having to buffer the light coming onto the planet because humans weren't ready. The frequency wasn't high enough to handle it. So they were buffering it. They gave us a big update, and that things were not moving along as fast as they'd like, but it was okay. It was good. This was 2011. Then they asked for volunteers, and they said, here, because they said, here's what was going on. They showed the planet, and they showed it encased like in this gray smog, like the whole planet was just covered with a thick smog. And they said, this is the frequency that the planet is at. You can see it, because the idea of being a victim is so intense that on the planet, everybody believes themselves to be a victim. And that's the lowest frequency you can have. And they said, we need to break up we need to break this up. We need to break it up. And they said, we need volunteers to agree for the next 10 years or so to suffer. You go into deep suffering, and as you go into deep suffering, you transmute the energy of suffering into light by not becoming a victim, by just being in frequency of love, by forgiving, by not allowing yourself to be a victim. and they asked for volunteers. And I said, bullshit. I was sitting at the front table and I was sitting next to, I think it was, I don't know who it was. It was somebody I knew. And I just leaned over and I said, what bullshit? And he said, well, Sherry, really? You must understand this. And I said, I understand the basic concept of it, but for somebody to have to suffer in order to release that frequency doesn't make sense to me. And he said, watch. And then they put up on the screen thing there. They showed the earth again with that thick, gray, heavy, dense energy around it. And they said, so there's someone on the planet who is victimized, who is suffering deeply, and they do not accept the idea of being a victim, and instead they are in love and a high frequency. They transmute that energy, and it was like he stuck a pencil or something down through that gray stuff, and it brought the light through. And he said, see how it breaks it up. See how it breaks the light, the dark, the density of that up. He said, we don't need very many people. We only need at least 12 people, 15 people around the planet to just do that, to break that up with that. And I said, oh, come on, that's gonna really work? And they said, Sherry, you just don't remember it, but we've used this before on other planets, and you know that it works. He said, if you can remember, it works. This works, and we need to do something like this here because this frequency has to start getting broken down. It's covering the planet. And I was sitting there thinking, that's just crazy. And he said, well, actually, we had you in mind to lead the charge on this, because this is what you're good at. This is what you're best at, Sherry, is you don't believe in being a victim, which I don't. And he said, and you don't believe in buying into guilt and all that. So we were thinking you would lead the charge on this. And I didn't say anything. And they said, do we have any volunteers? And I just sat there thinking, and I said, I don't want to suffer anymore. I said, I have already gone through, by then I'd already gone through my dark night. And so I'd lost my business, lost my kids, I was like, I don't have any more suffering to do. And he said, oh, you'd be surprised. I remember when he said that. I'm sitting there thinking about it when behind me I hear someone say, I'll do it. And I turned around to look, and it was this sweet little gal from, I think she was either from Central or South America. Don't ask me how I know, but I just knew that that's where she was from. Tiny little thing, radiant, about another volunteer like me. And she said she'd do it. And I just looked at her, and my heart just, and I just was like, oh my gosh, and I said, I'll do it. And my friend, and I can never remember her name, starts with a J. I always want to call her Jennifer, Jackie. Anyway, from Australia, she was there. She said, Sherry, when they asked for volunteers, I was standing in the crowd, and she said, I took a step back and I stepped behind a tall Pleiadian. She said, and I hid. She said, I did not want them to point to me and say, do you want to do this? And she said, I couldn't believe it when you raised your hand. And I said, so you remember that? She said, yeah, you raised your hand finally, and you said, I'll do it. And I signed the contract to suffer for 10 years. Now, I don't tell the story very often because it seems, you can see why. I don't want people, when I told whoever I was, when I told that to, people respond by saying, oh, thank you for, I don't want that. Yeah. I don't want that. If I did do this, which it appears that I did it for the love of Gaia. I did it as part of my mission. I did it because that's what we do, as a volunteer. And I don't want people, I had a lot of people go over the top, like, well, you're just like Jesus Christ. I'm like, no, I'm not Jesus Christ.
Not quite.
But so.
Please don't crucify me to a cross. Let's not do that.
Yeah. It was, well, I think I might have taken that instead of what I went through, but maybe not. No.
Well, but having said that, there is like a vast field of respect that you and the other ones who have chosen to say yes to that deserve. Like, there's a level of respect and honor that is due to you because you have linked with love and poked a hole through that cloud and allowed the light to come in. So you are worthy and do that acknowledgement and respect.
I appreciate that. But I think all the starseeds, we're all working together. And, for me, as I begged to be given the mission that I was given, the one that I have. I wanted to come very badly. It was a great opportunity and a blessing and a privilege to be able to come onto the planet, having watched this planet for eons or however long it's been that I've been watching since it was birth, and never been on it in human form, always in my ET form, but curious about the humans and being able to be on this side of the veil. That was a real privilege for me to be able to do that. So I did it for Mother Earth. I did it for her, absolutely. So like all the starseeds and volunteers, we had our reasons to come, So, but thank you.
Absolutely. I'll open it up to everyone's off mute, and I know people are wanting to talk to you as well, and I'll try not to hog you. Who would like to talk to Sherry first?
I'll go first.
I'll go in with the lion.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll ask, how have you been able to mitigate, like, I'm sure there was some fear in the very beginning. How have you been able to live through that or manage that fear and respond to your responsibilities, to respond to that contract, live out that contract through that fear?
Oh, yeah. Soon after I had that meeting on the ship, my memory was blocked. We weren't even sure that we got picked up, but we finally, of course we did, but we were blocked at first. But I had enough memory that I went to lunch with my ex-husband. I remember a week or two after, it must have been within the next week or so, because it wasn't very long. Went to lunch with him, and I had enough recall because it was emotional for me. What I told him was, something bad is going to happen in my life. Something bad is happening. I don't know what it is. I said, I know the ascension of the earth is taking place, and it's okay. And it's a little delayed, but it's going okay. But I said, there's something personal about this. I said, I'm very concerned. I said, I don't know what I learned, but I learned something bad is going to be happening to me. And I said, I already feel sad about it. And because he knew, he was one of the few people I could talk to openly about this, because he's been on the journey with me as far as my coming to terms with who I was and all that. And so I did express that to him, but I didn't have fear. I just had great sadness. I had a lot of sadness because my life had always been so joyful up until 2008 or 2009, when it hit the wall and it was time for me they came and said, it's time for you now to go, deep into your mission on the work that you're here to do. And I was okay with doing that, but I had been just enjoying life so much. But what happened was everything was taken away from me. My job, my business, my wealth, my children, my family, everything went in a course of a couple months. Lost my brother, died suddenly. My mother died. My children turned their backs on me. My business, which was my baby, gone. My relationship ended. Lost all my properties. Lost everything. All very short term. It just went from. It was like I don't know, living a really fantastic life to just 6 months later, it felt like someone had torched it and had been burned down. So I did okay with that because I was a Course in Miracles teacher, and I had that to fall back on. And I spent a lot of time in prayers of surrender, and trust. Before this happened to me, I had always gone for my walks. And as I walked in nature, I would talk to God. I missed being cut off from God. That's one of the toughest things from being here. And I would talk to God, and my prayer was always constantly, use me in whatever way you can. Whatever you need for me to do, show me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do. I'm here for you, whatever. And so I wasn't surprised, when my life went through that stripping away of everything, because I was smart enough to know that probably had to happen. Because as long as you have money, as long as you have other things to distract you, So I was stripped bare. So I trusted, and I trusted. I did really good, Angela, until I got sick. I never expected to get sick. I never expected to be thrown into fear. I never had fear. Even when the Draco came, they were well, I guess I could say, I mean, I was startled. I guess you could call that fear, but then I quickly remember who I was and be like, okay. But actually, the second time they came, I just stood and sent love to them. So I was okay. The first time it just startled me so much. But the second time he showed up and was standing outside my bedroom door, I just looked at him and all I could do was feel love for him. So I think I handled everything fine, but when they lowered my frequency, I fell into fear, and that allowed me to get sick. And now I'm trying to bring my frequency up. It's hard to do when your body, I can see the Course in Miracles teaches us that the ego has many tools in its toolbox to get to you. And the strongest one is your body.
Right.
When your body is in pain and suffering and sick and not working well, especially me having been so active to not be able to walk and stuff, you can try to not focus on your body, but you can't help it. I mean, it hurts or it needs attention, and you have to, and it's probably, you can understand why somebody becomes kind of eccentric. Well, I would even say a narcissist. I think a person who gets sick could easily become somewhat narcissistic because you're forced to think about yourself so much. Mm-hmm. It's been interesting. It's been a challenge. It's all being recorded. I know my life is being recorded. I know they want me to go through and experience everything and anything that I can that's of this 3D experience, of this old 3D, now 4D, because we're never going back to this again. And to be a human and to be so vulnerable and susceptible and to experience the highs and lows emotionally and physically, it's been a wild ride. So I'm trying to be grateful to be the one that they agreed could have this experience and show what this is like, one of the volunteers to do this. But boy, I can't wait for it to be over and to not have to be, I liked it back when I could go walk into nature and be with my God, would be with my creator and be on that level and at that frequency. It felt so good. I can't get back there right now. I can be in gratitude. I can be a lot of things, but I can't be above the pain and the suffering, I try, but I have the angels, the angels come in, the blue angels, these beautiful blue angels, and they talk to me and I get really, they're like, are you ready to be healed? And I'm like, yeah, please just heal me. And they're like, so heal yourself. And I'm
God, I'm sorry. That just makes me so mad.
I'm like, come on, I have tried. And they're like, they call me, what do they call me? Atanan. They call me Atanan. And I say, why do you call me Atanan? And they say, and I looked it up then. And there's this channel who's been, she's been channeling the blue angels. That's how we got to know each other. They told her to get to know me. So the two of us became friends over these blue angels that keep coming around. And they keep encouraging me and they keep telling me I can do it, that I can. And I said, I know I can when I'm whole. I know it's a piece of cake. I used to be able to heal myself before, and I know the truth of who I am, but I can't just give me a little boost, But so far they haven't. They just keep saying, heal yourself. But Atanan, they call me Atanan. It means one who comes direct from God. And they said, you came from God and you came all the way down here. That's how they said it, all the way down. And they went all the way down. And you're down here now. And as soon as you remember who you are, you will go all the way back up to God. And they said, that's when I'll be healed. And I said, well, and I take it that's going to probably happen during the solar flash. But anyway, it's been trust. To answer your question in a nutshell, you have to trust and remember the truth of who you are and know that what you're going through is temporary. And in my case, it was for the greater good. I don't know if suffering always is, but I would say that if your soul determines that you need an experience of suffering, there is something in it for you to learn and gain from and help you to remember. And so you have to trust in that.
One follow-up. Do you see this as the split with the 3D realm and going to 5D? Do you see this experience as being like a part of that in a sense? It's like,
Yeah.
your 3D perspective fell away, like completely. It's kind of like Dolores speaks about in some of her books. It's like those people may die in your experience, but they may have a different experience for themselves in a sense.
Right. It's interesting because I had that experience in November of 2011, where I signed the contract to suffer, and my life immediately changed. Immediately, my dog got sick, and I got sick. Things changed, and I was meditating. My relationship, he packed up and walked out. He just left in March or April of 2012, and I was meditating. I was in where was I at that time? In Texas, and I was told, you are now residing in 4D permanently. And I said, I don't want to be in 4D permanently. I said, I'd rather go back to 3D. And they said, no, you're going to stay in 4D. And I said, I don't want to be in 4D, but that's where I've been. And so for me personally, yeah, and that's where now the planet is also, I mean, everybody's bumping up and down and all around, of course, but they kept me in 4D, which is a nightmare of a place to reside in. It is.
Why is it a nightmare? How? Because you think people are like, oh, you're
falls away.
ascending.
Your life changes, right? Everything
your life
that
changes.
can't stand falls away.
Yeah, because 4D is the realm of demons and of nightmares and of
the astral plane.
Astral plane.
Okay.
And that's why we go from 3 to 5. Is you go quickly from 3, and hopefully you go through 4 fairly quickly and go through your, what do they call it? Dealing with all your demons. You deal with your shit.
Dark night.
Yeah, dark night of the soul and all that. And I've been like stuck in the dark night of the soul. And so, I mean, I have but I think I feel 5D here where I live. I live if I can financially keep my house. It's been expensive being sick, but if I can stay here, because this is heavenly to me, and this helps me a lot to be in nature, to be in a place where it's quiet and peaceful, and I have my birds, and I can tune back into the truth of who I am. That's what I do every day, is just try to access the 5D realm, because it's there. It's right there, and that's how we're going to do it, is by just living it, So, yeah, great questions, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Sherry, I have a follow-up with that, because there's a lot of talk about ascension and what's going to happen to people who are in 3D versus 5D. And I have a couple questions in that, is that going to happen in so many generations? Is that happening with each of us individually over and over again as we move through these generations of ourselves? Like if somebody is really stuck in 4D and passes in 4D, then do they come back in that state? Do they move on? Do they just learn it as a lesson? What are your thoughts on that? And like the other part of that is someone who feels that they are in a 5D state of mind. What would that be like?
Okay, it's everything. It's all about frequency. It's all about frequency. Back in 2009 or 8 or 9, I was meditating again, and somebody said to me, would you like to visit the 5D New Earth? And I said, is she there? And they said, yes. And I said, yes, I would like to visit. And so I was transported to 5D Earth, and it was like heaven. Everything sparkly and magical and love. And I heard people talking off in the distance. I was just in a grove of trees around me, just trees and grass, and that's all it was. But it was just, oh, Kat, you would really cry with that, because I mean, it made me want to cry. It was just love. It was a frequency that was so much better than what we had here on the planet. I could hear off in the distance humans talking and laughing, and their voices were like tinkly, like wind chimes, in the distance. And it was just beautiful. It's all about the frequency. So what my guys taught me, I'll just go with what my guys taught me. And I looked in the book again and I read it because I wanted to see what did I have to say about these times. And it's in there where I talk about how they said the day will come when the split will happen on your planet, where those who are of a lower frequency, a lower vibration, cannot coexist with those who are of a higher vibration. The people in the higher vibration will be ready for unity, consciousness, want to live in love and harmony. Those who are of the lower frequency are still going to want control and dominance over others. And they always do that thing. There's no judgment in this, but they can no longer share the same time space. And then they showed me the ends of a magnet, 2 ends of a magnet. They said, see how the ends of these magnets cannot share the same time space because they are too far apart. It's just not possible. So what will happen on your planet soon, it will not be possible to continue on. And so then I said, well, so what's going to happen? And they said, those who are of a lower frequency will leave the planet. They will be taken off the planet. They never explained how. And they will go to the frequency that they resonate with. I assumed on another planet, in another realm, I assumed it was a planet type thing. And they say they will continue on their journey from there. And again, we stressed you, there's no judgment in this. And I said, but you showed me the planet being destroyed when I was a little girl, and the planet was destroyed. How's that a good thing for the people who stay behind, get to stay on a planet that's being destroyed? They didn't explain it to me. Since then, I've understood that was the timeline when I was 9 years old. When I was 9 years old, the timeline was that our planet the planet Earth was going to be destroyed and washed clear because the humans were not ready to ascend with her. And so she would ascend without them and they would be washed off, which happens. I remember that on other planets, they get washed. That's how they do it. You wash the entities off. But they didn't explain that to me then. So that's the way I see it happening. And they made it sound like the way they said to me was there will come a day. They didn't say there will come a time. They said there will come a day. I'm one who tends to believe in the solar flash. I tend to think that it's going to be, but you can pick your choice, whichever one you want to believe in. I like the idea of a solar flash, of it happening instantaneously. It feels right to me that it would happen that way, that there will just come a day between our father sun, our central sun, and the Mother Earth will communicate, and the humans be involved in this frequency thing where it will just trigger the awareness that the planet is now ready to make this upgrade. And I do think it will happen in the blink of an eye. Now, the other theory is that it happens over generations, like you said. I just don't see it happening that way. I think that it will be a case of like where you are here and then you are, because I know that because I've had that experience myself, and it's very possible. And why would it not be that way?
When you say you get the experience yourself, was this because of other incarnations and other planets, or inside your body looking into the future? How did you have the experience?
That's a good question. Why did I say that? I have had the experience where I had it on other planets when I've been volunteering on other planets.
Yeah.
And it's gone that way.
Yeah.
And also in my own life to know that when I used to heal myself, and maybe some of you are healers too, the way that you heal yourself, it's instantaneous. You know, it just is, and you do that because you move into the frequency that it resonates with the healthy body or with the healthy whatever it is. And so when the planet is, I believe it's going to happen. We're in disclosure right now with everything that's going on with the planet. So we're in disclosure. As we move through this disclosure in the next 5 or 6 or 8 weeks or so, we come out the other end of disclosure. And when we come out of that, it's going to be things hopefully like Nasera, Jasera, and medical beds, and the realization that we are now free, and the people on Earth are going to understand that they really were prisoners. They didn't know it. Those sleepers, there's like planets 80% asleep still. They're going to all wake up. Huge number of them are going to wake up. There's going to be jubilation. There's going to be a sense of freedom that they've never experienced before. This planet is going to take a big leap with its frequency, I believe. And I think that's going to trigger the solar flash. That's my personal, maybe it's my wish, but I'm more than knowing, but that's my wish, is that it seems like it could go that way. I believe that the disclosure and the solar flash are going to be pretty closely linked. I don't think there's going to be more than 18 months to 2 years between the two of those things happening. So besides, my guys told me when I asked them, when's this going to happen? What's this, when are we going to be through this? They said you'll be through by mid 2023. Now, I think that included the solar flash, but for sure, the disclosure, the whole thing of, as far as getting rid of the dark ones off the planet and having the planet liberated once and for all, truly free of the control system. So that's by 2023. So I think it seems to me that the solar flash, we have a window of opportunity, because the progression of the equinox is the physical manifestation of what we're going through on the planet. And that closes that window. That's a window that closes like in 2028 or 2030, something like that. So it's like the planet needs to take that leap and move into 5D, and we're going with her. So it's got to be happening. So that's the way I see it. Now, as far as, and it doesn't have to be about the body.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that comes to mind is being human. Sometimes I feel like I'm very much in that realm of consciousness that would qualify as 5D. And sometimes, I feel like I'm in 1D. Yeah. And so as we move through those emotions that have the frequencies, and we move ourselves deliberately working towards a higher vibration, as we are more self-aware and self-conscious of our own motives, responses, reactions. I guess this question comes in, is there a point where you didn't quite make it, sorry. Or, like as we move through this, it seems like I keep hearing there's the either you are or you aren't.
Right.
And we as human beings float.
We do, we fluctuate. And you're right, you go from three, I remember back in some year, I don't know when it was, and I said to Don, why aren't you coming in? Why aren't you coming in more? He said, oh, Sherry, he said, you're jumping from 3D to 6D. He said, you're all over the place. He said, by the time we get a fix on where you're at, he said, you're gone. He said, the whole planet is like that right now. And he said, so it's too challenging. We're not going to come in. You won't be seeing us for for quite a while till this is probably over, because as the energies were fluctuating and I was fluctuating. But now I hate when my brain just goes soft like this.
Yeah, it was great. Well, one of the things I'll hop in if I can, because one of the things that you said was like you were helping people saying, yes, you're going to stay. No,
yeah,
you're going to go.
That's it, Kat. That's it, Kat. Thank you so much. That's what it was. I should start taking notes. I'm old. I forget I'm old and my brain's.
Oh, you're ageless.
But yeah. But anyway, yes. Part of my job was a light reader. So back in November of 2009, on the planet, every soul on the planet and discarnate off, who were out of body at the time, we, the volunteers, and a bunch of volunteers and starseeds, we met with every soul. We personally met with every soul and we counseled them. I would read their light and I would say, you've got a long way to go. Get your frequency up as much as you can so that you can stay, in a 3D positive, and work on your frequency. We would counsel them. But mainly what Dad told me was my job as a light reader was for those who were, as he called it, close to the line, those who were close to making the mark and crossing over and able to make the 5D cut. Those are the ones you want to encourage them to go for it, to work a little bit harder so that they make it, so that they don't miss this opportunity by just when they could have just put a little effort into it and gotten through. So that's what we did. And we had that reading back in 2009. We did a base reading on everybody. And then we continued. No wonder I was so tired, because we continued to monitor them and meet them on the astral plane at night. We would pull up different souls and we would meet with them and we would say, you're close to the mark. You're close to making it. Just push a little harder, work through your issues and get your frequency up, because you can make it through to 5D. And over and over again, it was so sad because these souls would say to me, I'm just so tired. I'm just so tired. I don't know if I can do it. And we would encourage them to do it. I'd say, dig deep and try to do it. And they'd say, I don't know. I will try, but I'm just so tired. The thing about it is it's set now. The split has happened and it's pretty much, it's decided, but wherever your frequency is at the time that the solar flash happens is where you will go. It's just the way it's mathematics. There's no mystery to it. Basically, it is what it is. It's the way the universe works. Mm-hmm. So these souls, they will go where they resonate with. God, see, I had it again. I lost my train of thought. But God,
it's that thing of like the people who are going to stay on the planet are the ones who are going to be helping the planet. The ones who leave the planet are actually the ones who are like, oh, you're going to have to go to another planet because you're not going to match this frequency.
Right. And you're going to go, and the thing of it is it doesn't matter if you didn't make the cut, because actually after this was all done with, and I was at a meeting and we learned that we didn't get that many of what I call the native earth human souls. I call them that. I don't know what else to call them, native earth human souls. Those are the souls that we came here to try to help. The ones who have been here for millennia. I mean, they've been here, many of them have been here. They incarnate way back in, ancient, the first time Earth, had a seeding, and they've been stuck here. Their souls have been recycled and recycled and recycled and recycled. Those souls, those people, and you can see them, you can see that they're some of the original souls on the planet. You can tell when you meet them because they look so tired and worn down and defeated. They have no initiative to try to, they've had the hope just beaten right out of them. They've incarnated so many times, they set up that system where when you came onto planet Earth, you were locked in here, and very few had an opportunity. That's why we came, is to make this rescue, because you couldn't move on. Your souls were trapped basically, and you were imprisoned. And not you, but the original souls on planet Earth. So we came in as star seeds and light workers to raise the frequency and to help free the planet, which means that just because they didn't go to 5D, because I felt really bad, because basically what Dad told me is pretty much, Sherry, the only ones going to 5D are going to be the star seeds, the volunteers, the light. In other words, those of us who came in from the higher realms to begin with, which made me really sad. And he said, but no, we did it. We freed the planet because those souls who are going to be freed so they can continue on their journey. They'll go to 4D, they'll go to 3D, and they'll have an opportunity in their next life, or in the next opportunity that comes around, and they'll be able to ascend then.
Right.
Now,
If I can hop in just to kind of clarify that, like the matrix grid that's energetically keeping people into the cycle will be broken. And so those souls can progress because that matrix won't be holding their souls in place.
It is broken. Before you had to know the secret. Before, if you died on planet Earth and your soul came out of its body and you went and it got trapped right away, if you knew enough to walk away and go and not buy into go toward the light, and not buy into the fact that you're being greeted and that you're being told now you got to go back and review your life and all that stuff that they programmed us with. If you knew enough to walk away from that and say, no, I don't choose that. I don't choose that. I was always told, if you get trapped there, go to the dark door, is what they always told me. Go through the dark door. Don't go toward the light, go to the dark door. And that will take you out into all that is. And so I always remembered that. But you do have to be at least 51% service to others in order to go on a positive timeline. That's the law of one. And if you're 51% service to self, you're going to go on a negative timeline, because you're going to resonate at that frequency, and you'll have to work your way back toward the light. And we've all done that. We've all chosen to go down that dark path just to have that experience, because we're eternal souls and we wanted to experience that. But I wouldn't want to take that on myself right now. But that's the other thing, is every soul is going to have the experience that their higher self has chosen for them. Plus, we've got all the integration of our other pieces, other aspects of ourselves that are existing on other levels, other realities, other dimensions. Now is the time we have to bring all those back into alignment. And so that's another thing that, when you're working on your stuff, you can align all that and bring that together, because it's all happening. It's huge what's happening. It's really huge. You can't really think about it, and you can't analyze. You can't analyze. You can't go through your day analyzing, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? You just either are or you aren't. You either walk in the light and with love, or because if you're going to analyze, that is your ego. Always remember that. As soon as you're judging or analyzing, you are aligning with the negative side of yourself, and you're being critical of yourself or others. So it's interesting times, and hopefully people have done their work. If they haven't, it's okay. Like I say, we've all chosen that alternative side of things too at some point, and you learn from that. So
let's hope. Oh, it's good. No, it's so good. But the more you talk, the more I'm like, there's so many things I could pull out and expand. But I want to toss the mic over to Jason so he can have a chance to connect.
Well, I have a couple of comments, not really questions. I guess kind of affirmations for you, Sherry.
Good.
When you were talking about the blue angels, I had already written down blue avians. So in my head, it's these high frequency, kind of the same, the same beings.
Yeah.
And then when you made the comment about how your home is your safe space and you have your birds, I was like, oh, that ties back into that blue avian energy. There was the blue apparently is going to be the theme of the day, because there's also something about, I know earlier you were asking about what can you do with the vertigo stuff, and I wrote down blue light therapy, which I just so happened to come across like 2 days ago on another video. And I'm not really quite sure if that's like blue light bulbs in something, but like this blue light. And they were making this in the video that I saw the other day. And it made sense that they were talking about, look at any sci-fi movie, right? Because disclosure is kind of happening in TV, in books we read, in the movies that we see. Like Star Trek, for example, they're like, anytime they're in these highly advanced medical doctor offices, what color is the light? It's always this blue light energy. And at my chest, I have just got the flutters. So blue light therapy, if that's something you can kind of get your hands on for the physical.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay, so that was the thing. The blue, and just flushed. My hands are all sweaty and clammy. But like the blue avian energy is definitely all around you. And then this may or may not make any sense, and you can absolutely say I don't understand. That is absolutely fine. I'm not going to force fit anything. But I wrote down Marilyn Monroe. So I'm not sure what the connection is, if there's a Marilyn or if there's a Moreau or a Mary Lynn. No. But look, it's at the bottom of my list, my little Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. So for whatever that is for you, if it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, hold on to it. But yeah, I just you've got so much positivity, like positive, even though you've experienced all this negative. The reason you're coming out of it is because they're counteracting it, right? Like, even like when you said when you were talking about the reptilians, and you were like, in the experience that I had, I didn't feel like they were bad. That's the experience. I know that there are, but the experiences that I've had with reptilians, they're not bad, but they startle you because of their appearance. And that's just our human, like, fight or flight, right? And when you were talking about Jim's lineage, right, like the star lineage being the reptilian, I was like, that's soul connection, right? Like that's soulmate, soul connection, like cluster connection. Just flushed. I just
want to hear about the Marilyn Monroe connection. What was that for you, Sherry? What was that?
Well, when he said it, I thought of and now I'm not sure if it's the right connection, but when he said it, I immediately thought of when they indoctrinated Jim into my life, because he was very 3D, but he was the right one for me to for him to take care of me as I went through my sickness, because he came into my life very quickly after the one guy left me in Texas. And I came home and they wanted me to meet him right away. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. And they forced it on me. Then they had to quickly indoctrinate him into my life because he wasn't anywhere near thinking, anything about
Aliens
like my
or
life. Yeah. And so they quickly had him see them. They just very quickly moved him along. And one of the things they did was they picked him up, and once they picked him up, then they would come and get him, and he would be laying in bed, and they would just grab him by the arm, and they'd pull him up, and he would just start, they'd suck him up. One of the times that they took him, his memory when he came back was of Betty Boop, and that's when he said Marilyn Monroe. I thought Betty Boop, because he said there were a bunch of Betty Boops around the bed when they were working on him. It was really funny. Because I was in my ET form, and I was one of them that was working on him on the ship. But he came back with memories of these Betty Boops. So I was thinking that I mixed that up with Marilyn Monroe.
Well, and
so,
she was gonna be a whistleblower, and then what happened to her? The government, right?
Yeah.
So they were just like, no, it's this correlation. Like, this is the correlation.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, when you were, I hope that I got a thumbs up and not a thumbs down when you and your group were talking to the different souls. Oh, you're gonna make it here, or you're gonna be stuck here for a minute. I was like, please just tell me I got a thumbs up.
I know, Jason, you're pretty dicey on the edge there.
I know, right?
You're so dark.
Yeah, of course. All the light workers and star seeds, for the most part, unless they've forgotten who they were or have gone against, their mission.
And when you were talking about these souls that continue to reincarnate on Earth, like Earth, or you can have Earth star seeds, right? Like and I think that's something that we don't think about. Like when we think of star seeds, we think of off planet, right? Like off Gaia. But if there are groups of people that resonate with other planets off of Earth, then it makes sense that there are also going to be those souls that gravitate towards the Earth's energy, and that have had more of their lives on the planet. So I'm glad to hear the news, because I never really understood the whole process of the immediate reincarnation cycle, like kind of being trapped. But it makes sense when you're talking about, you go to the dark door, because if someone's trying to keep you here, what's more appealing?
I know.
This bright light, shiny, flashy over here, or people? I feel like more people would be scared to go into
the dark door,
kind of the darkness, because that's how we've kind of been taught, right? It's the light versus the dark,
right?
When it's all the same spectrum,
right?
Right.
Well, and it's also the whole thing they had it set up, to where it seemed that you were meeting your family and friends and loved ones and all that. And maybe that's true, but maybe that's a trap, as part of the trap as well, because it was a trap. The planet was a prison planet, and it's not a prison planet anymore. The souls that are dying now, or the people who are dying now, are not forced. Well, of course not. There's free choice now, as to where you want to go and what you want to do, which is the way it's supposed to be. But before there wasn't. Someone was there to meet you and have that life review and say, oh, look, you need to go back. That whole crap about karma, which is not true. Karma being the balance of energy. It's not anything to do with having to pay a penalty for having what you did. If you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. I always said, well, okay, so if I murder somebody in this lifetime, then I'm penalized. I have to come back, and then somebody murders me. But what about, how's that work? That person,
right?
Then somebody, karma is balanced through forgiveness and love.
Yeah.
And putting it into the light and seeing the truth of what it is, remembering who you are, and knowing that what you are doing is having an experience here, and you're all in agreement to have the experience, no matter what that is. And if it involves darkness, well, you were both in agreement of that, and to conflict and say you have to pay a penalty for it, or you have to come back. I love the one where I had different people tell me, well, they came back because they were told they had to learn how to use money. They had to learn how to manage money. And I said, oh my God. I mean, how's that spiritual? I mean, that's that there was such goofy stuff that, you know, people didn't put it together, you know. So anyhow,
It
Hop in, Linda.
reminds me a bit of, you know, when I had my near-death experience, when you said go to the black, that's where I was. I was in a void that was darker than dark.
oh, good for you.
And the feeling that I had was just being encapsulated in a love that was so beyond words. Like I could take every word for love and the most magnificent description from every language on the planet, and it wouldn't even touch a candle to what I felt. And
But
it was
you're a
very,
star, right? You're a starseed, right? You're a starseed or a volunteer?
I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Starseed, for sure.
I was gonna
Starseed.
say, I thought you were just gonna say yes, of course, because
I don't know. I just know I'm Linda.
Well, Linda, you're a starseed.
In
That's
this
what.
carnation, Linda with a Y, because that was my first word, Y. But you know, the thing was, I knew I could go further and be engulfed in an even higher frequency of love.
Right. See,
And
you're.
I had a choice of going back. And so, you know, for me, I chose to come back. But that void was for me sheer energy and love.
That's a different experience than what most people have. The typical native Earth human soul, which is always a mouthful, but I don't know what else to call them. But the ones who have been here trapped for so long and are so programmed and everything, and into the religion, you know, the religions have programmed them. They go there expecting, you know, to be judged or to be, you know, go to heaven or go to hell or whatever. And so you didn't have that experience because you were of a different frequency. And you hadn't had that kind of program to the extent to where it got you to get stuck. The starseeds and volunteers we're here for a mission, and when we're done, we go back from whence we came if we want to, or wherever we want to go. You know, freedom. That's the name of the game. So that's interesting. That's good. I like that. That's validation.
I wanted to thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Jason. Do you want to say something?
Oh no, good. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to hop in because Linda or Nancy Legit, one of our live streamers here, she had a question about disclosure, and I'm wondering what your take is on disclosure and how that's unfolding, because you said you dropped a little bombshell for me where you're like, oh, next year we're going to have this, or the next few weeks we're going to have this. So what is your understanding about disclosure, Ms. Sherry?
Oh, I believe it's happening right now under our feet, and it's big. I do believe, I mean, I haven't gotten anything from my guys for a while, but I feel it. I got the word rapidly, something about rapid. It's going to be very rapid now, in a matter of time. I think that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, there will be a lot more that's known than what's known now. And it's going to peel away very quickly. And we have to wake the masses up. We have to wake them up. And I think that it's going to be, I'm one of those who believes that there's going to be an EBS alert, and that there will be probably lockdowns, possibly. I'm not saying we're not laying in any food or we're not doing any survival stuff like that, but we are just being cognizant of, you know, don't let our food get too low, don't let the gas in the car get too low. But I think there could be martial law. I think there's any number of things that could happen, which are all going to be good. They need to bring out the QFS, the quantum financial system has to be rolled out. So I believe that our financial system, along with, I think it's starting in Germany and in France and Europe, they're crashing. We're going to crash. I do believe they will bring the stock market down to zero. Our money is worthless, and I'm just going according to what my guys told me. Anything and everything which was founded and based in the frequency of deceit and control and lower energy, it will have to fall away. It just crumbles. It is like a sifter. The evil, the dark can't go through to the light. You know, we're going into the light, and as we go into the light, our government and most big businesses, corporations, some of those nasty ones, like I heard McDonald's was going down, thank God. evil beings that they are,
Ugh.
and Disney, and so all those based in all the negative, all the horrible things that they've done, they will not make it. So those are going to crumble and fall. And I think our education system, which now is, you can't even call it an education system, but it's more of an indoctrination and brainwashing for these children, which is horrible what they're doing. And of course, the medical field, all of this, it all has to fall away. And that's got to happen pretty darn soon if we're going to be through this, the worst of this by 2023. So based on that, I'm saying, I think that it's like a house of cards right now. I think we've got this house of cards and it's real shaky. And one of those cards is like just wobbling and it's going to fall over. And when it does, everything's going to come behind it. And it's just going to be like a cascade. And I think that the alliance, the white hats, the people fighting for the freedom of this country, they are ready and prepared for it. And they've got a plan in place to make the transition as easy as possible.
So do you think we're going to get a false disclosure first before the real disclosure?
Now, by disclosure, I don't know that I mean the ET. I think that'll come one of the last things that'll happen. I think there'll be disclosure that there's life out there, which duh. I mean, like we have to disclose that.
Right.
It kills me. This is really. But so I think that it will be just confirmation that that they are there and that they've been there helping us because they've been of great assistance, during these times. There's been this war that's been waged on this planet, and the freeing of the children, something that is not anybody's favorite subject, but it is something that it's one of the major reasons we had to come here, is because of that was so negative and so dark and creating such dark frequency on the planet. And so that's all been cleaned up for the most part. There's, I think, a little loose ends from what I understand, but they have gotten most of the children out that they could, but they have stopped the trafficking for the most part. And so that's in and of itself is huge, just huge. I mean, that caused me, I can't tell you how many tears, and the frustration and the sadness that you feel.
Can you speak to how you know that? Because there are people, we have so many people on the show, and some people say, hasn't happened yet. Some people say it's happening. It's already happened. So I'm wondering how you know that this process is already been, set in motion and that liberation has occurred. Is that from your guides or is that just from the information that you've taken on?
It's from my guys, and I feel the energy of it. Like I can feel the release when we've reached when a really dark entity, for instance, has been taken off the planet. I can feel it. I feel the release of it. And my guys will come in and say, yeah, we did this or we did that. Because I'll say, what was that? Or I'll say, what's going on? I feel something. There's energy moving really fast, or what's happening. And they'll come in and they'll confirm for me that something, they keep me abreast a little bit. They'll say things like, well, that didn't go so good. And I'll go, what? And they said, well, the dark ones had a surprise for us. We didn't see it coming at all, but so our plan A didn't work, but we've got plan B. Never fear. We've got them. They're still on the run. So when the higher dimensional beings, when my family came into the universe, into the solar system, actually, I felt it tremendously. I felt tremendous emotion when they came in, and all the star families are coming in. The skies are filled with ships. They're out there. They're just filled with ships. If you can see them, you can't, there's no blue even. The skies are just filled with ships. And so they're here to watch. That's the other thing. We must be getting awfully close because there's so many are here from everywhere to observe what's going to happen on this planet, because this planet is such a crucial part of what's going on. But I don't know. I'm just tuned into it. What it is, Kat, is it's kind of like, it's my job to know that. And so I know it on some level. It doesn't always come down into this level, but I know it up here, and I can access the intention or what's going on, not details and names maybe and all that kind of thing, but I feel the liberation of the planet taking place. Feels good.
That's fantastic. It's interesting because there's so much stuff out there that's contradictory, but I think it was last summer that I had more than one person saying what you're saying, and they were experiencing this liberation, and other people are like, don't believe that, that's a narrative that's not happening. And it's like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
it's good to get your
Yeah.
vibrational take on it. I really appreciate it.
But could that also be associated with whether or not you're still 3D or if you're past that? Like, so if you're still stuck in the 3D, could you be like, oh, that's a false narrative. They're just trying to snare you, like to keep you there. And to whereas those people that are like, no, like this is happening, like, you know, like right. Does that make sense as a question? Like, could that perspective be based on?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a timeline that you can fall into and stay stuck in it where the earth goes transhuman and you stay with that. That's the negative timeline. And if you are buying into that and you're so filled with so much fear, and that's where you're going to go. And that will be, that's your future. Totally different. And it overlaps because we are all right now still sharing the same planet. The split, physical split has not occurred yet. And so it's all overlapping. So it's all based on your frequency, which is, it's just like, two people who go to a movie and sit through the movie, and afterwards one saw it as a nice light-hearted comedy, the other one thought it was a tragedy. It all depends on your frequency, your perspective. Perspective is everything. And so that's what you'll get back, because as you project, that's your perception. So
choose your frequency, choose your adventure.
yes, good one. Yeah.
When I think that just one more and along that line, just observation is, I like to ask, when I see leaders come forward of what do they have to gain? What's behind the scene with that? And is there manipulation? And I do see a lot of things happening around the world politically that are really creating this intense tension. And both sides feel they are righteous, feel they are right. And so how do you, Sherry, recommend people have discernment on the narratives that they're following?
First of all, we're walking into dangerous territory here, but the thing you have to not be able to you have to be able to see it through your heart, withhold all judgment, because you cannot look at this world anymore and have any judgment about it and try to analyze it. And again, I'm back to that, where that is your ego. Then trust in your heart. I know that being a light reader, I know that yes, that gives me an advantage, but anybody can be a light reader. I think, it's being discerning. You look at the person and you see their energy, and you should be able to discern. If you can't do that, then I guess watch what the person does, not how they are perceived on the 6 o'clock news or in the media or anything like that, but just what is that person doing? What is their energy telling you? What are they accomplishing? What have they accomplished up to now? Who are they? What is their character? And it's not a judgment thing, but it is, if you're asking, like, what leaders can you look to put your faith and trust in, you need to be very discerning, because most all of them are rotten to the core.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I've heard 80%, that's not high enough number as far as how many of our Washington electorate representatives and so are going to be taken to Gitmo or already are there. And so it's going to be gutted. And
Yeah.
It has to be.
Well, that's the whole thing. Look to what leader? Like, I don't want to look to another leader. I'm the leader. You're the leader. We're the leaders. Like, I have no interest in giving my power to any political leader. I'm here for the revolution.
So look for the leader who is saying to you, I'm not your leader. You're the boss.
Love it.
Yeah, look for the person who says, I will work for you. I mean, Carrie Lake, for instance, in Arizona, I'll just pull her out because she just came to mind. She is saying over and over again, I am not aspiring to be a politician to get in here to line my pockets. I work for you. I answer to you. You know, you will be the boss, and this and that. And so you want somebody who isn't the same old pandering to you, fake smile, the whole thing that's gone on for so long of the slick politician who makes promises and in the back room is lining his own pockets or something. You know, you can tell. You'll know.
And I actually also encourage people to look at the history of the actions of the person. Look at the history of what they've done, because a lot of people can say a lot of things.
Right. You gotta look, you have to dig for yourself. You can't go and just listen to what is being told about them. Get to what the facts are. Because you know, I had a little experience with media. It's interesting. My life has been like that, to where I was taught all these examples. When I was in business and I was doing a big development, and I was being fought as to the environmentalists. So actually what it was the neighbors. They just didn't want neighbors in their backyard. They had gotten their little plot of land and they didn't want anybody else to have it, kind of thing. And so we were going to court over it. And so then local news media came down and wanted to interview me. And so I agreed to meet with them, which a friend of mine said, "Oh, are you crazy, Sherry?" But I thought I can meet with them and explain my side of it, because there's nothing to be upset about. You know, development is part of what happens in this world. So I met with them, had a conversation with them, watched my interview on the news. They took the film of me and they literally snipped it and cut it and diced it and put it back together to where what my answers were not what I said. They made it into it didn't even make sense. It was like they would ask me a question and what my answer didn't even make sense because they cut it up so much and pieced it together. And that was my firsthand knowledge of how our media works, how trustworthy they are, and how they report the truth. That is not the truth. I called up there and I reamed them out, but they didn't care. They weren't interested in delivering the truth. They were interested in creating conflict and drama on their 10 o'clock news. So that's and that's just me, one little person down here. Can you imagine what it would be like to be in the arena of running for senator or whatever, president? You know, I can't even imagine. I mean, the lies and how they can, and now with what is that? It's called CGI or whatever it is. I mean, they can create, I mean, it's just all kinds
of things.
Yeah. So anyway, gotta be discerning. You have to trust your heart.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on just that thing, being in your heart space, because there's no other way that you can recognize truth and authenticity if you aren't first operating from a state of truth and authenticity. So it's a call to come within, to learn the self, to know the self, to be able to identify and be familiar with who it is and what it is that you truly are at your core, so that you have the ability to accurately discern what is happening outside of you. You can't be driven by the external, because to be driven by the external keeps you in a loop that is responsive and makes you subservient to the loop that lies outside of you. You have to be driven from the internal. So it takes getting familiar with the self through meditation or whatever it is that draws you inward, heartward, to identify and be able to get in that space and know what source is. Know what source is. You have to be familiar with source and being able to feel that, to know the difference in what lies outside of you. You can't respond or resonate with something outside of you if you aren't first that thing within, because the world is literally reflecting the energy that you are projecting out. So yeah, it's a call to come within to the heart.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I feel like Angela should be doing sermons on Sundays. Like, she breaks things down so well. I'm like, just get on that stage and do us a favor. I wanted to ask you, Sherry, because you talked about a couple of things, if we have time to break it down. So do you see any sort of false alien invasion narrative happening in the next, within the next year as a counterpoint to the true disclosure? Or what is your perception or understanding on that?
I don't. I know that the dark ones have that on their playlist, and I don't feel it, but I'm not one of those people. I haven't spent a lot of time dwelling on it, but I just my gut feeling, or as Jason and Angela would say, they're shivers or whatever, but I don't sense it.
No shivers on that one.
Yeah, I don't feel that is going to happen. I don't think that that'll play out. Maybe I'll be wrong, but because it's not.
I feel that with you. It's like when there's certain things people talk about, and I'm like, I can't feel the energy in it.
Yeah.
And if I can't feel the energy in it, I can't. Go hop in, Jason.
Well, I was going to say, I can see the potential for them trying to do that, right? Like Project Bluebeam, the holographic projections.
That's it. Project Bluebeam.
Right? Like I can see them. I can very much see them because they don't want to lose control of the situation. So I can see them trying it, but the masses being like, what is this bullshit? Like, this is not real. We know what you just did. Like, this is, because those people that are, those starseeds or those people that are awakening, you're going to be able to resonate. And we know, like, if they were going to attack, right? Like, if the negative entities, the bad ones, if they wanted to fuck with us, well, I mean, they have been, but if they wanted to make this big, huge public display, don't you think they would have done it back years and years and years ago when we were weak-minded and we weren't at this crescent point or this tipping point of awakening? So I can see them trying to do that. But I think the masters are going to be like, this isn't real.
I don't think it matters if they do, or if they don't. It's more of you being able to stand in your power, knowing who you are as a sovereign being, right? And being able to look at the world from that place of neutrality, because if you can look at the world from a place of neutrality, you aren't attached to anything that happens. Right. It just happens. It just happens. It just is. It's something that is. It's the isness of being. You are able to respond to life from a neutral state. So you aren't attached to any outcome. It doesn't matter what they do. You are the one in control.
Don't you think a lot of people have learned and grown up since in the aftermath of the supposed pandemic thing, the last 2 or 3 years that we've been through? I think a lot of people are now looking at it, and maybe their initial response to that was one of fear or of concern or whatever. But I think that it certainly awakened a lot of people who were on the verge of awakening and needed a nudge, and that was the nudge maybe that they needed. Now there are those who are still walking around with masks on and stuff, but I'm not talking about those. Those are the ones, if there's a fake alien invasion, they're going to go grab their gun and shoot themselves. So, there's nothing to be done about that. But but it's just a matter of, I think Angela's right. I mean, everybody's responsible for their own response to what the world hands out to you. And right now, I'm just watching it with a great enthusiasm and exhilaration and happiness and joy, because it's changing. There's things finally that it's happening, and people are coming awake every day, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. So I'm happy, and I'm sad for those who are still trapped in their illusions and still trapped in the matrix. But God bless them, they're going to be moving on too. So, and their souls have made their choices, and whatever choice they made, good for them.
I think so many of us are going to feel justified, even if they try to fake it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is, like, I knew it. Like, there's not a day that goes by that when I walk outside, like, I have not seen in my life, I have never seen a physical craft. Okay. Like, I've never seen one in the sky, but every day when I'm outside, something or someone's like, look up, we're here. And I'm like, hey, brothers and sisters. Like I'll say it in my head, I'll say it out loud. I'm just like, hey, like, I can't see you, but I know you're there. Like, I'm acknowledging you. That's so when you're talking about, like, they're all, the skies are full. They are. There are so many different beings, people, energies, whether it's in our dimension or other dimensions, different planes, but the sky is full. Some of us, we just can't see it with our physical eyes, but energetically, every time I'm outside, like, I feel it. And I'm like, they'll be like, we're up here. They're like, turn around. And I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, flash at me. I'm like, flash at me. They haven't done it yet. But I still acknowledge, because something caught my attention, right? Like, somebody put the thought in my head. that directed me to look up into the sky. So I'm always like, hey, star brothers, hey, star sisters, like, come get me, pick me up already.
You should start a dialogue with them, since, I mean, you're picking up on them. So you should say, so ask them, when are you coming? When are you going to show up? I'm open to that. It's strange that they haven't, because they can easily shoot a little hologram. It looks real.
It's always a matter of the fact of, it's like, well, you just don't remember. We have done this, we've interacted, but you just consciously at this moment, like, you don't remember.
You filed it somewhere else. I like the idea that you're going flash at me, and they're like, woo, like on the ship, like showing.
Oh, Kat, that's funny.
I wanted to ask you also, Sherry, like, because you're dropping little bombs. I'm like, oh, that's like a whole nother conversation. Like, what is your understanding of the quantum financial system? I've heard of this, and I'm aware of our financial collapse because you can just see it happening. And some people are like, oh, we're going to be starving, we're going to be hungry. There's not going to be food because of this financial collapse. And I feel like you've got a much higher vibe take on it.
Yeah, I do believe in the quantum financial system. I believe that it's a real thing and that it is set up and it's been running. I think it's been running alongside the fiat system we have now for a while now, and that they're gradually easing it in. And I do believe in Jacera and Asera, the forgiveness of all debt, and we're going to have currency that is gold. I guess they call it rainbow currency. It's going to be backed with probably gold. But all the crypto and everything, for the most part, most of the crypto is going to collapse as well, because that's Luciferian and its energy.
How do you know it's Luciferian? That crypto is Luciferian.
It was, it's got a lot of interesting stuff to it. I think is that the one that the number coding on it is 6666 or something like that. But it was founded by the person who founded it is a Luciferian, and it is just based on everything that I've heard about it. I had a resistance to it. I had people trying to get me to do it, and normally I would do it, but I had that resistance that just said stay away from it. Until now, I have taken what money I can because our dollars are not worth anything and they're going to disappear pretty soon. So I went into the QFS does have crypto that is already established. QFS, the quantum financial system, the new system that we're going to have has already established crypto based in the quantum financial system. So those are going to survive. And if you look into those, those are available for like 10 cents or something. And so you can buy for $1,000 or $2,000. And after the collapse of everything, those are supposed to survive. Now, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not at all qualified to do that. I'm just saying, for me, it sounded like fun. We're all going to be just fine because they have seized the wealth. You know how the elite, the 1% had 97 or 98% of the wealth on the planet. Yeah. Well, that's under the control of the good guys now. So we have all the gold that was under the Vatican. We have all the gold that was under the palace, and we've got and as they arrest the people and send them off to Gitmo, all the people who participated in Satanistic, ritualistic stuff, celebrities and those sorts, they have to give up their wealth. So there's more money, they said, than we can imagine. That's going to be distributed to the people of Earth, and there will be no poverty. And so you don't have to worry that when we go through this collapse and the money goes to zero and the stock market goes to zero, it's going to be immediately replaced with the rainbow currency or whatever currency you are in your country, and revaluation, and everything is going to be valued the same around the planet, and it is all going to be backed. Russia's already done it, and I think Venezuela might be one of the first countries too that also has done their new currency. And it's all, so there's not going to be any more poverty, and when we come out the other side of this disclosure. So this is happening in the next few months as well.
Okay, I'm trying to just grasp my head around quantum. Why is it called quantum? Quantum financial?
Because it's not going to be, the banks are going to be done away with, which we're going to have our service centers where people go in. If you buy a house, You go in and you apply for a loan for your house and you pay a service fee for it, but there will be no interest. We will not be paying any interest on anything. There's no tax on anything except when you buy something that's new, there'll be a one-time tax on it when you buy something new, and that's it. When we switch over to the system, someone like me who had my wealth stolen from me by the feds, they came in and without any cause took away my $4 million, which I miss very much. And we will be given settlements and everything will be made right again. Any interest that you paid in the past, any loans that you have now, they're illegal. Everything's no more paying taxes. I haven't been paying my taxes. I don't pay taxes anymore. It's illegal. Everything is going to be changed. And so there's no need to worry or fear. It's going to be made a level playing field for the most part, which is the way it should be. No one on this planet. I always, as a child, it just used to bother me so much that I knew that, our Sunday school would have these things where you bring cans of food for the children in Africa freezing and starving to death and things like that. And I know that through the church, we had kids from poverty areas, pockets in Chicago and stuff, and come stay with us. It just broke my heart, and I keep saying, why does anybody have to go to bed hungry on this beautiful planet where there's more than, you knew there was enough food for everyone. Even as a 5-year-old, I knew that. So that's finally going to be remedied. There'll be no more poverty. There's a lot of work to be done after this disclosure, but it's going to be the star seeds and, until we have the solar flash and everything is just, but it's going to be quite an amazing time to live through. So I'm really excited about it. So the quantum financial system is based on, it's not a person that's going to make the decision. It is based, I can't explain it. You have to, you should Google it and look into it.
I'll research it.
Yeah, because it's based on, I'm not sure how that's being done, if it's AI, because I don't like the idea of AI, but I guess it's a good kind of AI where it's based on your service to others. If you've been in your life based in service to others. Yeah, if you have an idea for a healing center or something that's going to, innovation that's going to benefit humanity and benefit the planet, you will be given the funds to do that.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a dream come true.
Oh, it's going to be, there's so much to look forward to. There's so much good that's coming our way very soon. Very soon.
I'm joining that timeline. That's a timeline I want to be on.
You're on it right now, because we're all here and we're seeing it.
Amen. Amen. I receive that. Any other questions from or thoughts, feedback, readings from our co-hosts?
I got one. I just have a comment. I heard you say something so beautiful, and I hadn't heard it described in this way. You defined surrender as being affirming your invulnerability. So being able to stand in your power. I thought that was such a profound way to define surrender, because sometimes we don't think of it that way. We think of surrender as just maybe throwing up the white flag, for instance.
Right.
Yeah. But
I'm done. I surrender.
It's so much more than that. It's being able to stand in your powers.
Right.
So to your invulnerability. You are invulnerable. You are more than this physical vessel that presents. When we look at one another, you are so much bigger than that. So I thought that was really profound and something that should be highlighted here to just give people a different perspective of what surrender really is. Yeah.
Well, and these are the days when surrender is going to help you through the dark night of the soul and the confusion that's going on, is by surrendering, because along with surrender comes trust. And so, yes, it is stepping into your power. It makes me upset kind of when people are just automatically, when you talk about surrender, they do see it as a weakness and as a caving in and giving your power away to someone else. And it's absolutely the opposite. Surrender. That's why this whole thing about free will on planet Earth, we could go a whole nother show on that. To me, where I come from, the world I lived in before I came here, we were aligned with our creator. And so our free will was aligned with the creator's will. And so you just surrender every day to that. And we can do that here. To have free will can sometimes mean that your ego is going to take over. And then, and so surrendering is really tapping into your power and bringing in the creator's power along with it.
So it's surrendering past you. I'm just trying to process this because there's this whole thing of being a conscious manifester, right? I'm a conscious manifester. I want a new car. And then there's this like surrender and going past the will and being a conscious creator. And there just it seems to be two different experiences. Like, yes, you can be a conscious creator and accumulate all the wealth and hold it for yourself. Congratulations. What have you done? Versus a conscious creator who's in service.
I just had this, I just had this discussion, Kat. Being a conscious creator that's a new catchphrase, and be careful, that's entrapping the ego, and that's just growing your ego. You're focused on things outside of yourself, and you're focused on your will dominating and controlling, and it's not being in the flow of the universe and what the creator wants for you and your higher self wants through your expression of who you are here. It's you're hijacking your life service, which is meant to be for others. And so, being a conscious, you can have it all. I did. I mean, I became very successful and well-to-do and everything. And I didn't lose it because it was a bad, it was a punishment or anything. It was, I just needed to clear the way so I could do my job. But you can create consciously, which is what I did, but you can do it through your heart and where there's no damage done to anyone else and no hurt. And it's just done joyfully. Because when you're in joy, and you just naturally manifest. And so you don't have to, so you have the idea of what you want to manifest, and you look at it not for how much money you're going to make from it, but because of how much joy it's going to bring you and what it's going to make as a contribution. Like I used to buy and renovate buildings that were dilapidated and ugly and eyesores. It was my favorite thing to find the ugliest building I could, and I would make it into a little jewel. I would make it so pretty. And I made money by doing that, but I wasn't meaning to make money. I just wanted to do it for the joy of doing it. And I think when you have that kind of energy in what you do, you will just naturally, you'll naturally, I guess, be financially taken care of, I suppose.
It's a matter of operating from inspiration, that inspiration that comes from alignment with the soul, with the higher self. It's being moved in that way, because from that perspective, it's not necessarily a thought that you conjure up. It's more of a download that you receive, that this is the way I should go. And this is, it'll yield something outside of that, but that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is the inspiration that's invoked as a result of that download received from being in alignment with the soul self.
Absolutely. And when you're honoring that inspiration, you're being true to yourself.
Right.
It's the truest part of you. It's your core.
Right.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your star seed origin?
That's been a question I've been asked from the very beginning, and I never had an answer for it, because my book, I wrote that my guys were grays, but then when I asked them, because they look like grays, but my editor said, if they're grays, then they can't come from Andromeda, because they told me they came from Andromeda and all this and that. So I went to him one day and I said, they want to know if you're a Zeta, if you're a gray. And he said, that would not best describe the truth of who I am. And I said, well, then who are you? What are you? And he said, I am what you would call an etheric being. That is, I do not have a form. I do not have a body. But when I come onto your world, I need to have a body in order to do my work. So I wear this what did he call it? This article of clothing, kind of, he called it
Biosuit.
Yeah,
biosuit.
He says that he calls it is a Zeta suit. He said it's like a Zeta suit. He said those of us who are etheric, we choose this because it's highly functional. And I said, well, then if you're not a Zeta, I said, what can I tell them? Who are you? Where do you come from? And he paused a little while, and then his eyes really sparkled as he answered. And he said, I am a voyager of the universe, going where needed in service to the creator. So I've been working hard, and I talked to Alex Collier about it not too long ago. And I said, help me figure out where I came from, because everybody wants to know. And I said, I'm starting to wonder myself. I never liked labels, and it never mattered to me. Like, everybody wants to know his name, God's name. He doesn't have a name. He's got an energetic stamp, but I want a name, so I give him a name. I think from what I'm learning, because I've been asking my guys too, I'm like, give me something here. I think that I am, and my guys, we are part of the collective known as Ra. And we are very ancient civilization, and that we go back to source. The Blue Angels calling me the name that they call me, the Atanan, is that means having come from the stars, falling to earth directly a child of the Creator. When I met with Anelia Benz, she got that I came from that kind of place, source. So I believe that is where I come from. I have not been informed before. I've not been in a body before, not on this planet anyway. I do go on other planets and do on missions. So I think I come out every now and then and do that sort of thing, but I don't think I come from any specific planet. I think I know that we birthed this universe, my race of being, we did, and that Earth is one of, we have watched and nurtured this planet. I remember personally being on this planet many times, especially like during the Egyptian times and during the times of other times when we got close to it ascending during what are the civilizations, what they were called. But anyway, I can't remember. I'm getting tired. I'm starting to get tired, you can tell.
Okay.
But anyway, no, not that we have to jump off right away. But anyway, that's who I think that I am. I've been around a long time.
I almost really love the fact that it's labelless, because we as humans, we want to put a name, and it's this planet, it's this star. If it's not one of the top 5 that we always think about, then it's not real.
I know.
I love the explorer, the voyager of the galaxy. You go where you need to.
I think it's funny, Jason, that you bring that up, because I'm thinking of somebody who was corresponding with me a lot and wanting, a lot of correspondence stuff, which I try to do, but it's hard all the time sometimes. But when they realized that I was possibly associated with the Zetas, he just dropped off. That wasn't a high enough frequency for him, I don't think, to want to continue to talk to me. I don't think he felt I was worthy then of his time. I thought that was so funny, because he did stick around long enough for me to say, well, actually, no, I'm not a Zeta, but it doesn't matter.
And that's our judgment. That's us judging. Who are we to do that?
I know. It's so funny. But yeah.
I'm gonna hop in with one final question. We've got Nancy Legit, kind of harkening back, and then we'll start to wrap up. Are beings who began on Earth star seeds, and are they on other? Oh gosh, I'm not sure if I read that. Are beings who began on Earth star seeds, and then are they other Earth star seeds like nature, spirits, and elementals? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did that make sense to you, Jason? You can answer.
Yeah, so for example, for me, Bigfoot is an Earth starseed. Like, they originate on the planet. Their energy vibration is a match for Gaia. Not to say that there aren't other Bigfoot type energies on other planets, but like fairies, the Earth elementals, unicorns, right? like all of those are Earth energies. So they originate from the planet.
Do they go off of these star seeds on other planets?
I feel like they can. I don't think that they're just specific, or it's one of those things to where maybe every planet has that same type of energy that's just associated with it. But yeah, so that's just what resonates with me. I do absolutely believe that there are energies that are specific to the planet. There are other energies, for example, like dragons. I do believe originate. Some of them have originated on Earth, but there are also some that originate from the cosmos. Like there's these galactic dragon energies. There's dragon energy on other planets. So I'm getting all worked up. So yeah, I think that there are certain energies that resonate with certain planets, and that doesn't mean that you can't have type A, type B, type C, which is essentially the same. There are other humanoid species on other planets that look just like us. So who knows? We may be distant cousins, but this human body is associated with the vibration of this planet, just like their human body is associated with the vibration of their planet. So yeah, I think that there are specific energies that gravitate towards or originated from Earth, just like there are that originated from other planets. Does that make sense? Did I babble too much?
No, that I understood that. And I would just add one thing to it as far as to be a starseed, because this I can speak to be a starseed, you do have to be of a certain frequency. You can't be of like a 3D or 4D. You need to be, it's best if you're like upper 5 or into at least 6 density. If you're going to go onto another planet to do the work that is done by the starseeds, for instance, I think that's what she was asking, can people on Earth go to be a starseed somewhere else? Well, first of all, it's unlikely that you would leave your planet and leave your incarnation because you have a contract there. So you would need to be you'd need to be in the ethers. You'd need to be in between, out of body. You'd need to be doing something where you're not in a contract already. And when a call comes out that a planet is in need of assistance, then you answer that call, and you need to be free of any other contracts in order to do that. If that makes sense.
That's great.
That makes sense.
I think it's great. Well, we'll start wrapping up, and what are your final thoughts, your message? What would your heart like to say to our heart, Sherry, as we close out?
Well, I've been getting a lot of inquiries lately of people concerned about their frequency and wanting to know what they can do to raise their frequency. And I know that there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, being in nature and meditating and song and dance, and a lot of different modalities that you can use. But there's one that I find particularly helpful that I've been recommending lately, and that is when I was teaching the Course in Miracles, I came up with the idea through the teaching of I would send my class out and I would say, this week I want you to do this, and I would try different things, and this one really stuck and it worked really well for me. When you're out and about, I said, when you see a stranger, look at that person and make the inquiry and find the innocence, find the small child in them. So you see somebody walking down the street, see that person as an innocent 3 or 4-year-old before the world got them to be judgmental and competitive and fearful and all the other things. And so find that innocence in them, look them in the eye and find that, and greet it and send love to it. And do that over and over again to everyone that you meet. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the better you get at it, it'll amp up more and more. And eventually what you're going to find is that the person that you're meeting on the street is going to look at you, and they're going to meet your great gaze, and they're going to feel this. They're going to respond to it. And it continues to grow and grow and grow until finally, when you go out into the world, you're just surrounded by people who already love you, and they feel your frequency, they feel your vibration, and you're in a different world. You're in the 5D world, and that's how you do it, is by doing that. Just start small. A lot of people, they say, well, how do you, I just make it your intention when you go in, and maybe your waitress, when she comes to the table, really see her. How many times do you go into a restaurant and when you leave there, you can't even tell who was your waitress or your waiter? Was it even a male or female? You don't even remember. Really see the person, really feel them, and feel love for them. Feel the love for them. See them as one with you. And it'll change your world. It'll absolutely change your world. You practice that, and you practice it day after day, week after week, month after month. After you do that for a month or so, your world is going to be different. And it helps not just you raise your frequency, but it helps the planet as well. So that would be my words of wisdom right now. Those are what I've been saying the last couple months.
I love it. And I know that's something actually that Linda practices, and I saw her smiling while you were talking about that, because she's shared some of her experiences going out to the world and just choosing to walk in love and practicing that, and have people, she's not saying anything, but people turn and respond to her because they can feel that there's waves of love coming out from her. So
They throw love bombs.
Yeah, Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I get very emotional sometimes. I mean, because there'll be somebody in particular and I feel drawn to them because I feel that they're injured at that moment. They're hurting. And, you know, and you just join with them on an energetic level, and you just try to offer what you can to them to help them to relieve the pain, you know, that they're suffering.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much a single person can do. People say, I'm just one person. Oh, no, no excuse.
No excuse to not love.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to flip this into gallery view, or Brady Bunch view, as I like to call it. And Miss Linda, would you like to start? Speaking of gratitude, we end with gratitude. Would you like to start a gratitude list?
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, Sherry, for spending your valuable time and wisdom with us. Just really loved our conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And Angela, Jason, as always, I love everything that you guys add. Kat, for being such an amazing host for us. And for everyone who has joined us and had such great conversation on the side and such wisdom that you bring. Thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. And thank you for joining us in our Facebook group, for the coffees you buy us, for just being amazing people, because I can feel every one of you and you're amazing. Make sure that you check the links below for more information on Sherry, Angela. Jason will be there someday with his stuff.
He's got links down there. He's got links down there.
He's got it. He's got some there. But make sure you check them out if you want more information, and continue the conversation in our Facebook group. Thank you. And with that, Kat, tell us about next week.
Absolutely. And one thing we didn't get to talk about was Sherry's Netflix series, but her book is going to be made to a Netflix series. So if you need anyone to run for coffee or back massage, anything you need, back massages, but if you need somebody on the set with you, Sherry, I'm here. I'll do that with you. And so our guest for next week is Christopher, the Astro Medium. He's somebody who has had a Kundalini awakening. He's deep into astrology, and he's a psychic medium as well. So it's going to be an amazing story to find out about his awakening and what he's doing. He's doing retreats, all kinds of things for the process of ascension and bringing everybody up to that, you know, through the 4D and into the 5D frequency. So that will be awesome. And with that, again, gosh, Sherry, talking about higher frequencies, I feel like my frequency is high enough to get you on the show. So I'm so grateful I got there and you could be with us. It's been an absolute pleasure, an absolute honor. And I hope that you'll come back and talk with us again sometime in the future.
Oh, I will. As I get better and stronger, don't have to restrict it to this little window of time during the day. So I appreciate it. Thank you for adjusting the time for me. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's nothing.
Great. It's so nice talking with all of you. It's just, I feel like we could just talk for hours. Yeah, just really.
Absolutely. And we will, just another time. So and with that, everyone, be oh so kind to yourself, be kind to others, beam that love out to those inner children that walk past us every day, and get out of our own way and get back into the flow of love. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.